Thanks for checking out this week's FinPrep Trading and Investment video newsletter. So S&P, we have the 7th consecutive week here of S&P trading within this tight trading range. We came down, nearly retested the lower bound of this trend line, stemming off the 420 highs, but essentially, just this nice tight consolidation. Looking for more volatility as we exit the Labor Day holiday weekend and move into September and October. So we shall see. Hopefully, get more definitive direction on which way is the market going, or can we see a pop out of this trading range and on the way to new highs, beyond 220, and if so, looking for that to happen here, of course, prior to end of year. So UUP dollar index, basically we had a few days of nice follow through following the Jackson Hole Friday pop. It basically, as you can see, reversed a bit, but did come right into lows of day Friday. Darn near coincided perfectly with the close of week from last week, Jackson Hole, where we had some speeches and so forth. So looking to see if we can get a move to target this 25 zone, and basically to understand if that's going to happen, we need to break it down as we did in the prior video. So knowing that Euro takes approximately 60% of that basket, we want to take a look and see what's going on with the Euro. So again, long sideways consolidated trading, with gradual move lower over time. And even here, if we zoom in to what's been going on over the past month or so, we did have this relatively minor trend line where you had a nice pop. We did break through it, come down and retest from the underside. So what was support then became resistance, thankfully, this Friday. It actually played out as opposed to being a whipsaw, which is sort of these false breakouts. But basically, we see now that Euro is closed considerably lower on Friday, but really can't get too enthusiastic about UUP resuming its upward trajectory unless these lows of the week are taking out. So we'll see what happens upon next week's open and subsequent trading. But yeah, that's sort of what we would need to see most likely for a renewed upside within UUP, is a takeout of these lows on the FXE, which tracks the Euro. On the other hand, the yen right in this very strong channel. So off this trend line where you had your primary move and then your extreme pop here, and then just kind of gradually turning into a more calm, coordinated, as it will, move within this upward price channel. We now have price on oversold conditions within the lower end of this range, which we discussed last week, got there pretty quickly. So that argues for, what quote unquote should happen with the yen would be renewed upside. This is FXY tracking the yen against the dollar in particular. On the other hand, the kind of paradox about technical analysis is identifying these inflection points. It doesn't really guarantee that is what will happen simply because it has in the past. It simply places the odds on its favor, particularly combined with other elements such as, if you look at your stochastics and other indicators, your moving averages, just try to get a sense on what all is going on from a bigger perspective. So again, this could and seemingly would rally off these levels. On the other hand, a decisive break below this trendline support would then change the nature of the move in the yen, which would help buoy the dollar. On the other hand, we'll take a look at the British pound. So again, following the Brexit sell-off, approximately 12%, we now have pound basically right in this zone of resistance. So this would be a natural selling point for pound, which would place upward pressure on UUP. So again, just to re-summarize, pound looks like it will contribute upward pressure to UUP. Yen could go either way, sort of bipolar in its outcome, as it's basically right at an inflection point. However, it would seem to be on its way to rise, which would place downward pressure on UUP. And Euro, neutral to slightly negative, would become increasingly more negative, i.e. positive for UUP, if it can take out these lows. If it doesn't, well then obviously a bit more chop, and remains to be seen if it could reacquire this trend line and push higher. So it remains to be determined what's going to happen here with the UUP piece and then its subsequent impact upon GLD. So GLD briefly did have a break below 125 and found pretty strong support. Keeping in mind that we should always view our daily charts with the weekly or longer term charts in context, even monthly. But in this case, we'll look at the weekly, as it basically gives us the insight onto why did gold post a low right where it did. And so you'll see basically price came perfectly into that rising 20-week moving average, which is now bullishly crossed over the 200-week moving average, basically showing the strength of the short-term momentum is still in gold's favor. So if this is to be, a floor for gold price, then you have to ask yourself, does it retest and even potentially pierce this long-term trend line from the 2011 peak in through your 2012 peak, defining this as a bear market. So truly, we'll be able to say that the tide has turned and that the bull market has resumed, more than simple price percentage calculations, but on a technical basis is when that is reclaimed. I don't know that this will be it. This is a pretty strong zone, however, for this move. But really, it's all kind of clouded by our picture of the dollar. So a dollar, again, on the longer term chart after the massive rally, this 24 and a quarter zone of support, giving birth to a pretty nice pop. And if it can resume, that then calls into question whether or not we'll see gold reclaim that upper trend line, which has been holding it, capping price essentially, in the near term, or perhaps into even late this year or next year. So that's kind of the bigger term picture on gold, and so we'll see what happens. But yeah, just keeping all these pieces together, trying to tie our picture or view on what's going to happen with gold, and with reference to the dollar and the dollar itself in terms of the dollar index EUP, we need to look at the constituent parts. So keeping an eye on euro. Yen should be interesting, but euro in particular is probably going to be the tail that moves the dollar dog. Okay, so that's what's going on this week, guys. We'll speak to you next week.